In the 2005 constitutional petition in Mwanga Kivumbi versus Attorney General, the court held that the powers given to the Inspector General of Police to prohibit the convening of assemblies or processions was in inconsistence with Article 29(1)(d) and E of the Constitution. Article 29(1)(d) and E provides that every person shall have a right to freedom of assembly and demonstration, together with others, peaceful and unarmed. Justices further declared that Section 23 of the Police Act was also null and void. Last year, the same court declared Section 5 and 10 of the Public Order Management Act of 2013 null and void, as it was contravening Article 29(1)(d) of the Constitution of Uganda. Uganda is obligated to protect the rights of freedom of speech, expression, and assembly of all persons. On several occasions, security operatives have been seen in running battles with Ugandans who try to express their rights under Article 29(1)(d) and E of the Constitution.
We are not hooligans, as they are saying. We are simply fighting for corruption. Mr. Museveni has failed to fight corruption. We are helping him to fight corruption in Uganda. Tetuli bayaye, Mai Museveni alemeddwa okulwanyisa enguzi mu Uganda. Muyambako.
Bannayuganda bwe mutavaayo kwerwanako, no one is going to fight for you. Bannayuganda bonna balina okuvaayo tulwanyisa enguzi. Anita Mongo alina okuresigninga kubanga kati yafuuse face y'enguzi mu Uganda.
Today in the procession to Parliament, security operatives mounted barricades prohibiting anyone who tried to access Parliament. While addressing the media yesterday, SCP Lusoke Chituma, spokesperson Uganda Police Force, said police will not tolerate any protest or procession to Parliament.
We advised the organizers and urged them to heed to our counsel. We believe we can use better methods and better approaches than marching to Parliament with unregulated numbers. As Uganda Police Force, we reiterate our position that we shall not tolerate disorderly conduct. And we are saying that our disagreement with these groups are essentially on methodological issues, not the principle and the rights. Because we understand those rights, we know them, we cherish them. But we have failed to have a common ground under which those rights can easily be exercised. The exercise of your right to assembly does not take away our responsibilities. It does not put our responsibility as police in abeyance. Not at all. It calls us upon to regulate you when we find you in a situation, in a framework of planning, which is going to antagonize peace. We nip you in the bud.
Yeah, the current events happening in the country, especially this morning, while at work, I saw police dispersing people within the city. I've seen police statements all along since yesterday. I've also seen arrests being carried out. I also managed to follow the president's address in as far as protests and gatherings are concerned. It is my opinion and the position of the law that police have no powers to stop public gatherings or to disperse people under the law they are citing. Police is citing the POMA, or Public Order and Management Act. The spirit in which they are addressing this issue is illegal and unconstitutional. You remember that in 2020, human rights organizations, Hurinet among others, and some members of parliament dragged government to court, challenging the provisions of the POMA Act. And the fulcrum of the POMA Act was under Section 8 of the said law, which intended to circumvent the earlier decisions of court in as far as public gatherings being controlled by police are concerned. Courts, this is one of the areas where courts have been very consistent. Courts have been consistent in protecting the rights under Article 43(2)(c) of the 1995 Constitution. Courts clearly stated in protecting this article that any limitation of rights and freedoms must be acceptable and demonstrably justifiable in a free and democratic society. That was the decision of the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court went on to state that it's only in undemocratic or autocratic authoritarian regimes that peaceful protests can be stopped in the manner that police has been handling, especially the political opposition gatherings or civil society gatherings. You realize that when it comes to government organized gatherings or the ruling parties meetings, police acts in a different manner. It was against that background that court struck out and struck down Section 8 of the POMA Act. And upon striking out Section 8, which was the benchmark of the POMA is inoperative. To date, if you looked at the implication of the actions of police and government, they are hell-bent on not respecting the decisions of court. Otherwise, no one would even be citing POMA. POMA was rendered inoperative by that decision of the Constitutional Court. I've seen police coming up to say that they have the powers to regulate. That is not true. Police is not an organ that permits human rights as was stated by court. Rights of expression, rights of assembly, rights of political opinion, and the fundamental right for all Ugandans to protest peacefully whenever they are discontented. Currently, they are talking about issues that are happening in Parliament. If people cannot peacefully tell Parliament off, then what will they do? We believe it's in their right, constitutional right, so to do. And I think police should go back and read the text and letter of their decision of the Constitutional Court of 2020. And the decision, actually, the famous decision of Mwanga Kivumbi, which was in equal terms. I think we will not be here.
The Attorney General did not appeal that decision, and therefore it remained as the law of the land. In 2013, government tried to go around that law by enacting POMA, the Public Order and Management Act. Section 8 of POMA brought back Section 32, which had been nullified and struck down as unconstitutional in 2007. So now, government was saying, oh, now we have another law, which says, which brought back those restrictions. Some people went to court in the same year. That case took some time, but eventually the Constitutional Court said Section 8 of POMA was simply a repetition of that colonial law which we struck down in 2007. It is also unconstitutional. Therefore, as we stand today, the law of Uganda is the Inspector General of Police or any other police officer delegated has no authority to prohibit these rights. What the court said in 2007 is that the role of the police is to regulate such assemblies. In other words, if you are leaving Bugolobi and you are coming to the Parliament of Uganda, the police does not prohibit you from coming to the Parliament of Uganda. But it can advise you and tell you, you see, the time you want to come, there is a jam around Jinja Road. So instead of using that route, police use the Nakawa route and eventually Naguru and end up at Parliament. That is the only road the police has. It has absolutely no power to prohibit the convening of an assembly. But what have we seen in reality? The police should simply follow the law. The police should simply follow the law. That's what should be done. Regulate the processions. In fact, let me use facilitate the processions. Work together with the people who want to form this procession. Work together and facilitate their movement to Parliament. At the same time, even protecting them in case there is a problem of people trying to attack them. That's what we expect, because not everybody will be happy with the procession. They may be attacked. We expect the police actually to be protecting them. That's why I'm saying the police is there actually to help them, to facilitate them. And at the end of the day, what are they going to do? They're going to express their grievance. They're going to carry this to the Parliament. They're going to hand over. They're going to go home. Why do you want to cause a fight over that? They are not armed people with guns. They are carrying a piece of paper. Why do you bring out all these armaments, police and army? Why do you want to continue with this culture of violence, which has bogged us down since 1966? Time we broke out with that culture.
On several occasions in such alleged peace assemblies and demonstration, this has seen those involved interrupting the rights of others, including harming them and destroying property.
Once notice is given that we are going to have a procession to Parliament, not to march. You know, when you use the word march, people get an idea of an army or something like that. But in law, we call it a procession. So if they say we are going to want to have this procession, and the police says, okay, you pass through this and this and that. The whole purpose of involvement of police is also to ensure that it carries out investigations about those kind of things which might happen. It can have detectives find, because you look here. Why does the taxpayer maintain the police? To carry out investigations. If they are going to be criminals embedded in a procession, it is the work of the investigator, of the investigation directorate of police, to detect that. That's why the Constitution says the main role of the police is to detect and prevent crime. It is not to speculate, like I see the spokesman of the police saying, oh, they are going to ban this thing, they are going to do this. Who tells him? Where does he get all that? We have a whole criminal investigation department where police detectives will be able to detect those kind of criminals who are infiltrating the procession and be able to stop it. Also remember
No, all police is doing actually is to criminalize peaceful protests. Because court was very clear. This was the argument before court by government. Violence, disruption of business, and court was very clear. It said actually that police does not have supernatural powers to determine what will be violent and not. That is why they have the wherewithal, they have the capacity. It would be to impeach the powers of police to regulate. They cannot, court was very clear. You cannot speculate on everything, every gathering. And it's very apparent. Why would you believe that any gathering, save for those by the ruling regime, would turn violent? And why would you anticipate violence before any iota of evidence that a given gathering, like the one which was going to take place today, all signs what people were saying want to move peacefully to parliament. But police is in a way again coming out to state that they have the powers to permit a gathering. And this is what I'm saying is wrong. They do not have the constitutional powers to stop peaceful Ugandans from peacefully expressing their views or even walking to parliament or even protesting. It is provided for in the constitution. If the government thinks this is a wrong thing, then they should go back to the law, not break the law. We've seen the executive arm, government particularly doing this. Actually, the actions of parliament were the ones being impeached by the 2020 petition, that in enacting the POMA, parliament was trying to circumvent the decision in Mwanga Chivumbi, where court had in similar terms told police of that you do not have the powers to stop a gathering. Court has been very consistent on this, and what government is doing, what police is doing, is breaking the law to the letter. It is just being arrogant and disrespecting the other arm of government. Simple. There are better ways of doing this.
Lawyer said it's prudent to follow the provisions of the law.
I believe the better way is having a will to let people exercise. It's just a political will. And police not seeing citizens as opposition to police or opponents, that whatever opposition that is coming up against anything in government is an opposition to police. Police is seeing the people as an enemy. There's need to be a discussion and discourse on how police should conduct itself in a democratic society. So the way forward is to just attempt at being democratic rather than being autocratic and democratic and authoritarian. Actually, what is happening is authoritarian. The might of the gun, the might of tear gas, the might of the powers that be. It does not matter that the president said it is not in order. It only matters that is it lawful or unlawful. The police should, in all ways, protect the law, not break the law.
Whatever they bring out, the police tries to close it in another way, but at the end of it, it is prohibition. If you are going, like we are seeing now, if you are going to put policemen blocked with all those shields and so on around the parliament, and somebody wants to go to parliament, you are prohibiting him. So who is not following the law? It is the police which is not following the law. Not these younger people who want to deliver, who they want to express their grievance. And you see, it is even in the interest of government. I don't understand it. It is in the interest of government that it allows people, not allows even, but it lets people exercise this right. Because then government gets to know the grievances of people. And governments are there to address the grievances of people. If the younger people are concerned about corruption and they want to draw attention to corruption. It is in the interest of government to listen and see how powerful this demonstration, this procession is. Is it just a few people, or is it a big number of Ugandans who want it this way? And that will guide government on how to react. So it doesn't make sense to me that the very thing which should be helping a government resolve problems of Ugandans, the government itself is stopping it.
They also give views on what should be done to address the vice of corruption in the country.
It requires a lot of political will, strong political will. Plus help from the people, the citizens. To fight it. But the citizens will only come in to help when they perceive that, yes, there is a political will to fight this corruption, that actually our leaders are committed to the fight. If the leaders can show they are committed to the fight, they will get the support of the people, and we shall really reduce this corruption. But if the leaders, if the people, citizens hear that, oh, they are younger people who are demonstrating against corruption, and then the president says they will see fire, and then we see what the police is doing, then the people will ask themselves and say, maybe this thing there is no real political will for it. Maybe people are just playing games. And once the people are disengaged, you can't be successful in this fight. It is only when the people are part of it, when you engage them and they see that, yes, this thing is bad and we should get rid of it, that you will be successful. So really, in a nutshell, to answer your question, commitment by our leaders to the fight. If the IGG says, I am going to carry out a lifestyle audit, I want to carry out a lifestyle audit so that it is you to tell me how you got that money. And the president says, Betty, you got slow. Our people, when they steal this money, they put it here. Now, if you start this thing of yours, they might start investing it out. What does the ordinary man get from that?
First of all, I think it is a patriotic gesture that Ugandans are not leaving the fight against corruption to the leadership of the country. I would encourage all stakeholders, because the main stakeholders in this country are the Ugandans, that Ugandans can come up now and say, no, enough is enough, and look in the eyes of the leaders, because they are saying we are marching to parliament. Look into the eyes of the leaders in this country. But it's out of the consistent ways in which corruption has been benefiting those in power. I think they are looking the powers that be in the face. We've seen ministers are the ones arraigned for corruption. We've seen members of parliament. We've seen big positions, permanent secretaries are the ones in this. So now Ugandans are saying, you the leaders are dirty and want to tell you this straight in the face. And what are leaders doing? They're stopping them from doing this. And I think beyond Ugandans, all stakeholders, we believe people listening, religious leaders have a following. This discourse should go to churches. Traditional leaders have a following. They should play their role. Government equally. Parliament should play its role. us lawyers should play our role. Courts should play their role. I think every Ugandan, because this vice, if not handled, the way Ugandans are now rising up, using all media, social media has now come in handy as a tool being used and should be encouraged, but not discouraged. I really don't think that it is about the president's way of handling corruption or not with this particular protest. I think everyone is saying, everyone who has a means, because it is the devil now. So everyone is saying, if the president is doing his work or omitting to do his work like they believe he is, it does not stop with the president. They also have the powers. So they're exercising their constitutional rights to protest against corruption. So their power is not a power which is being pitted against the powers of the president. The president does not have monopoly on determining how corruption should be fought. If citizens rise up against corruption, I think it's within their rights as Ugandans, because they are actually more affected. Probably they are even saying the corruption is with parliament and other arms of government. Probably there's something that they are trying to hide behind the carpet. That is why they don't want people to come out and express themselves through peaceful protests. I don't think anyone would want business destroyed. I don't think anyone would want to jump over people's sofa sets besides the road. I don't think I would want in my office here that a protest comes and I cannot work. But again, sometimes democracy is expensive. If it calls upon some people to come up and rise to fight about what everyone is seeing with their own face, the corruption in parliament, it is not a secret. If they were carrying out an unlawful activity, that if the statement from police was that the activity that is about to be carried out is unlawful, that people are going to loot, then there would be an issue of preventing someone from looting, that there is a group of people who are going to cause disorder. But people are saying, we want to walk to our parliament. We want to face our members of parliament and tell them what is going on in parliament is wrong. What is wrong with that? I think there's everything in government having to support actually its citizens to fight, to join it actually in the fight. What we would be seeing in a democratic society would be government encouraging the public to join it in the fight against graft and corruption.
As the president says, look here, I'm fighting corruption. You can see even my ministers are in the corruption court. You can see MPs are in the corruption court. I am actually fighting corruption. And the people want to draw attention to corruption. These are not mutually exclusive. They are actually agreed on one thing. The president and the people agreed on one thing, that there is corruption. The president is working on it. And the people are saying, yes, let's put more spotlight on it. Let's help the president by putting more spotlight on it. I think the two are agreed. Where is the conflict?
Is it the best way of saying that if you want to fight corruption, you want to walk to the parliament? Or there is another option?
Everybody chooses an option according to the Constitution. The Constitution is the one which says human rights are inherent. They are not given by government. The Constitution says so, by the way. I see policemen talking as if they are the ones who have given you the right to go and walk. No. It is written in the Constitution specifically that human rights are inherent. They are inborn. They are not given by government. Why do you think the people who wrote the Constitution put that there? They want it to be very clear about what human rights are. So if these younger people choose that we are going to use this route of exercising our right, why do you tell them that they should choose another option? You with telling them, you do yours. let them do the assembly. You police start carrying out serious investigation in the corruption cases and prosecuting them. You are also doing your fight and your auction of fighting corruption. These ones are also putting a spotlight on it. So, all these, there is nothing that you take this option. Why? If there are options, they are not mutually exclusive. Let's use all of them.
Police force under Article 212 of the Constitution is mandated to protect life and property, preserve law and order, prevent and detect crime,